Welcome back to the Zero Camber podcast. I am Mike, and that is...
I am Whoop.
There we go. We'll see how much the delay is, because we have a little bit of a delay on our FaceTime call today. So if it sounds a little weird or we get some weird timings, it's because of that. But we wanted to start off with an idea that I had, because I've been seeing it pop up a lot recently on Twitter. There's been a lot of, what's your cool automotive facts? And one of the things that I saw was like all these random special editions of cars, right? And it reminded me that, yeah, actually, it used to be pretty common in like the 90s and the 2000s to have special editions, especially for American manufacturers. Like you'd have the Eddie Bauer edition, the Harley Davidson edition. There was a Spinnerd edition town car that I found out about that was pretty cool. And then it kind of died down. Like, I think the only one I remember in recent-ish memory is they made a Batman vs. Superman edition Jeep Renegade. And there was the Call of Duty edition, the whatever Black Ops edition Jeep in like the 2000s. Then I haven't seen it again. And I think that's sad. And so that got me thinking, what are some like modern editions that could be done? And the boundaries of this are, would it be cool and would it sell? And the question is, what company would it be and what car would it be? So the company that would be the special edition version of the company, and then the car that it would go on. And I thought of a really, really good one to start.
All right, I'm going to let you lead.
The REI Edition Rivian R2.
I could see that. I could see that being a legitimate crossover. I would be surprised currently if there's not any kind of plan between, at least like maybe not REI, but like Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, like that kind of branding. I'm surprised that we haven't seen something like that.
Who would be a good Bass Pro Shop edition car? Because that's a good one. I think that'd be a good one.
I feel like it'd have to be like an Explorer or something.
Bass Pro Shop Explorer.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could also see like a Bass Pro Shop Durango.
I don't know if it'd be the Durango.
No?
I could see the Ram. Like Ram 1500, Bass Pro Shops edition.
Yeah.
That is like big bass green or something.
Oh my God, that would be good. So I was not going to jump to this one yet, but it's one that I thought of that I thought would be really good, that it goes in the same vein, I was going to say a Home Depot edition slate truck, Home Depot orange wrap, right?
That would kind of go hard.
Right,
I'm not going to lie.
With white wheels.
Yep.
And it's just set up like it's got tie downs in the bed, right, of the truck. And it just comes with like a Home Depot like inlay badge on the dash.
I'm just picturing like in my head the whole time you're talking, I had like a crispy media shoot, like Home Depot slate truck like commercial just playing in my head, and it was it had the Home Depot song, like it was going crazy.
It's perfect, isn't it?
That would actually go extremely hard.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. So Bass Pro Ram, the REI. You notice it's lifestyle brands, sort of.
Yeah.
Or seems like the ones that
I feel like they're the only ones that could get away with it, though.
I agree.
Like,
here's a question for you, because you're Mr. Subaru. Mm-hmm. What would be the model and the corporate partnership that would go for a Subaru? Like, what would they do?
I could really see like a Outback or Forester collaboration with like Chewy, that company that does like
that's a good one.
I think that would
yeah.
Subaru marketing. You're welcome.
Yeah.
That's free ball.
The Chewy Subaru Outback, and it comes with the it already comes with like the dog kennel thing in the back to separate, and all the seat belts like automatically have the harnesses, right? Or like you've got like or that like has a spot to put like the dog harness seatbelt things under the back.
Yeah, or it's like
tailgate.
Or it's got like special seats with like maybe like that boat vinyl kind of like a more durable material that's easier to clean.
Yeah, or like custom hooks, right? So that you don't have to wrap it around the back, like the headrest.
Yeah, like just so, like a few tweaks that would just make like somebody who's like the people who are like really about bringing their dog all over the place. Like
that's a good one.
I think that would be a solid pick.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Another one that I had the idea of, and I'm going in a totally different direction here, away from like the adventure brand, because that's the obvious one, is the adventure brand.
Well, because that's popular right now.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I think the one that would be like, this just seems like a collaboration that would happen, is a TikTok edition Kia Soul. It comes with the TikTok colors. It's got the blue and the red like accents throughout the car. It's painted black interior. It has a phone mount, right? And then it's got
like already set up for streaming or something like you.
Yep, and then like instead of the,
I don't know if they could get away with that though.
Well, but people shoot videos in their cars like all the time, not just driving, right? But
yeah, that's true.
Like
that's true.
Like what if you pull down the sun visor and you open, like it used to be. I don't know if they still do this.
It's got like a ring light.
Yes,
in the...
yes.
Yep.
It's got a ring light on the back of the visor.
I'm seeing the
vision.
I think it would only sell against like the super trendy Gen Zs, but like
no, but that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is like that's because that's the kind of car that it's because that's a car that's actually practical. I hate the Kia Soul. They're so bad to drive. They're god awful, but they're
so boring. And they're just they're not even good. Like a Camry's boring in a way that like it's so good at being a car, it's just fine.
Yeah, or like a Malibu.
But like a Soul is like kind of just repulsive to drive, if I'm being honest. Like Soul enjoyers, I'm sorry, but I mean I've just never gotten a Soul and been like,
well, so you remember right when the XB came out, right?
Yeah.
And it was like the XB came out.
The peak of boxcars.
It was, yeah. And then like the Nissan made the Cube and Kia made the Soul, and they expected these things to be super popular with kids, like teenagers. Mm-hmm. And the overwhelming majority of people that bought these things were old people.
Yeah, which kind of surprises me because I'm not gonna lie, the first gen XB, probably one of the most Japanese cars to ever hit the US market.
It looks like a K car.
That car screams fucking Japan.
Yeah, it looks like a K car. Like just if you
100%.
See like any K car MPV that's on the roads in Japan, it kind of looks like that. And then they made the Gen 2, which was much bigger. And I think better. Like as a car, it's a better
objectively
car.
As a car, it's better. But the first gen it's great. Like I'm not gonna lie, I owned one at one point. I need to have another. I definitely need to have another.
Did you ever see
fun of it?
Do you ever see the one that I linked in the group chat that was, or on? Actually, I don't think it was in the group chat. It was like way back when, like one of my early posts. And it was like a for sale one, I think in Kentucky, that was a Gen 1 XB with a coffee bar in the back. And it was like a mobile barista.
I do think I remember seeing that. But I've seen like a bunch of people do like weird things. Like I've seen there's a dude on YouTube who like turned one into like a little like mini like van life kind of thing.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Which is kind of sick, but I'm like, that would definitely be cramped. It's just a little too small for that, I think.
But
like I see them like when they're done up
all the way back, flat, like the old Japanese, like 90s Japanese adventure cars used to do.
If you take the headrest out and you can fold the front or the back seats down forward, and you can push the seats forward up front and then fold them all the way back down, and that whole thing will be almost completely flat. Besides the area the center console sits in.
Oh.
So
I didn't know that.
So yeah, if you're looking for a little shaggin' wagon,
it's getting hot in there because
can attest to the it does work, okay?
Scion XB comes with STD kits and Plan B in the glove box. Jesus.
If they brought back the Scion XB, we could get the next collab vehicle right there, Trojan XB. Or real. The Plan XB.
God damn.
That's going in the clips for sure.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
For the audience, I've been sick all week. You've been sick all week. I've had like a stomach thing going on, and I'm laughing this hard, and it hurts.
Yeah, I'll be lightheaded again by the end of this for sure.
Oh my god, I didn't expect this one to go so well when I came up with it.
Yeah, this has been a great little segment. I think to round off, I'd really like to see like a gaming oriented.
I was just thinking about that because
like
your tweet.
And I know for sure that there's got to be some kind of Evangelion branded car.
Oh my god, yeah. Actually, that's a great question.
What doesn't have an Evangelion collab at this point? I mean, like 7-Eleven's got like a 8-foot Ava 1 statue.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff. But that got me thinking when I thought about that. I'd really like to see something. I don't know what car exactly, but I'd really like to see a near.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna look more. We're gonna look more into this, but there was supposedly, according to Car and Driver, an Evangelion branded car, and I want to know what you think it was. I'll give you the manufacturer. It was Toyota.
Toyota.
Yeah. What do you think they chose as their?
Can I have a year, like a general? It doesn't have to be exact, but.
Okay, hold on. It's making me press and hold to confirm I'm not a robot so that I can scroll. We'll go like 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Toyota.
2011 Toyota Evangelion branded. I don't think you're going to get it, I'll be honest.
Is it an Avalon?
It is not. It is a Prius.
Wow. Okay. That is... Yeah, I was expecting something sporty, to be honest.
I know.
Everything, like, I would have imagined that would definitely be sporty. That was not what I was expecting at all.
See, here's the thing. A near branded car would be cool. As long as, like, the thing is, though, I feel like Yoko Taro couldn't be too heavily involved because he would do something weird.
No, that's what we need.
That's fair.
That's what makes near great. He would
be like, no, the rear seats, or no, the passenger seat, the foam has been molded specifically to the dimensions of 2B's ass.
Yeah, that is exactly what Yoko Taro would do too, and I would. He would do exactly some shit like that, and somehow there would be some thing in the key development or the design of it that would become integral to, like, it would become canon within the near fucking universe for sure. It'd probably be like a Leaf.
Honestly,
like the near Leaf.
Oh my god. It would be. The thing is, it would be a car that's not very good. It would be.
Yeah, 100%. It couldn't be anything good. It would have to be something odd. And so, yeah, you get a Leaf where the driver's seat is exactly dimension to 2B's ass, and then you'd have...
I actually, you know what would make a... we talked about it last week, and I don't know why it just popped into my mind again. What would be a good car, like, on-brand aesthetically for Nier, I think, would be, like, the Honda S660, right? Like, the little K car. Yeah. Like, because it's got that futuristic sort of thing, but it's small, and so it's... like, right, they're not going to make a Nier-themed NSX, right?
The 9S660?
Yeah, right? Something like that. Like,
where it's just like white with, or black with white accents. Like,
actually, like, from name perspective, what would go really well would be the Honda S66. Man, I can't say that. S660 A2.
Yeah.
That name goes really well. So if you guys hadn't realized yet, both of us are actually gigantic JRPG nerds.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is what we talk about when we're not podcasting.
It also does not help that in my being sick of the last couple of days, I did watch like an entire 8-hour breakdown of the entire timeline, start to finish, of Dragon Guard all the way through Nier Automata.
I've watched that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, there's a little corner of my brain for the last 48 hours that's just been Nier brain. So I'm like,
yeah. I like literally to come in here, I had to put my PS5 on sleep because I got to the part where Cloud goes insane at the Go-Gaga reactor. And then Tifa is, So I had to leave that, and that's what I'm not going to get to do anything on until tomorrow night. So that is actually tragic. That is almost as tragic as
somebody's backstory
Yep.
within Nier. I mean, everybody's backstory within the Nier universe. Yoko Taro just likes making people suffer. So
seriously, it reminds me. I can't remember what it was. It was like the Cyberpunk Edge Runners or something. It was like, we're Polish. Like, we suffer. We want everybody to suffer. That's why at the end of the story, you felt like you suffered. Like, it was like basically the quote.
yeah, I mean that checks out. Speaking of people suffering,
Yeah. Speaking of,
I
people
think it's
suffering,
time we have to make some people suffer, and we need to appeal to some of our guests who have asked some questions.
Yeah.
So I believe we were asked to give the just LS swap everything people a little bit of shit.
Yep.
This week. So
the way I kind of was thinking about this, and by the way, I'll say that Ian Campbell 1560, and so we'll frame it this way. I want to list the reasons why an LS swap is good, and then we can talk about all the cars that doesn't fucking work for. So
sounds good to me.
To me, LS swap makes sense for 3 reasons. As much as I prefer turbo engines, naturally aspirated engines are easier to manage when it comes to motorsport applications. Just generally they are, unless you have a lot of extra stuff. The constant, like sort of the constant torque, the constant horsepower, like it's just easier to manage a naturally aspirated motor. So,
well, and we can expanding on that too.
Yeah.
I'd like to just mention that like the management really comes down into like a cost effectiveness there, where like the overall level of headaches, you aren't running several fuel pumps.
Nope.
You're not running crazy injectors. Now you don't have to do all kinds of scaling. You probably don't need to run some kind of crazy ECU, because a lot of semi-modern ECUs you could kind of just grab with a harness or run a Holley Terminator or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is a very simple, easy to set up system that like anybody who is remotely inclined technically and mechanically could do an LS swap with bolt-on parts off the shelf and make it work.
Dead simple, good power, naturally aspirated, relatively inexpensive. I want to be clear, because as with everything, LS swaps
we're going to
have
expand.
been getting
We're
more.
going to expand on that.
Yeah, LS swaps have been getting more expensive because it's getting drift taxed. That's the new thing. Is LS
and
swaps.
I think it's even beyond, because like even in the drag scene, that's been a popular sentiment, streetcar scene, because of probably the next most important factor of an LS, parts availability.
Oh yeah,
you can go anywhere in the States. If you need to, you could walk into an AutoZone. You could probably get a rocker. You could probably get a push rod. You could probably get you could probably order ahead and have it shipped pretty quickly.
Probably the most supported engine in the world.
It's definitely
the
very
Western
well
world.
supported. Yeah, I mean, but like you can get plugs, you can get anything that's an accessory to it, gaskets, all of that. You're never going to be waiting longer than like a day for parts.
No.
And like even a lot of aftermarket suppliers are like really good about getting you stuff in a timely manner now.
Yep.
And like that is something that, if you're the guy drifting and you are going to 20 different events all up and down the East Coast, parts availability, being able to just replace an ignition coil on demand like that if something goes wrong.
If you screw it up,
it's a valuable.
You can go drive, like you can have a buddy take you to AutoZone and go fix it in the pit. Yeah. Right? Like that's simple. You're not going to do that with your boosted KA.
Well, and
you're not going to do that with your boosted
5
SR.
other people at the event have an LS of some sort in there,
they might have parts.
You have shared parts. You might just be able to run over to do 2 trailers over and be like, hey man, like you got a spare coil? Like, hey man, you got some plugs? Like, hey, like you might be able to buy that off of them or somebody. I mean, people at the track are generally pretty nice, and like if you're in a situation, like they will usually help you out, because nobody racing most of the time like wants to see anybody else like not race. Like if you're there, like they've all been there. So like if they can just give you a set of plugs and that gets you racing for the rest of the day, like I would be willing to bet most people are going to just toss you some plugs. Like, it's $40-$60 worth of plugs. It's nothing.
So they're naturally aspirated. They're relatively inexpensive. Parts are highly available. And I think the last point that I would probably make about it is you sort of got at this, but like they're pretty much dead nuts simple to swap. But,
yeah, well, and I would say the best way to approach that is like just the versatility.
Yeah.
Like you can fit an LS in so many places. You can just like an
not-
LS is relatively compact
they're not
for what it
that
offers.
big for what it is.
No, they're like 25 inches wide, and I think like
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, about the same 20 something inches, 25, 30 inches deep. You know, like nothing crazy.
Not like for a V8, it's not.
No, for a V8, it's, you know, which is why they've ended up in so many things.
Yep.
They were cheap, they're plentiful, and they're all over the place.
Yep.
Now,
All that said,
exactly. All that said, one, I need people to understand your 5.3 Vortec is not an LS motor.
No.
Your 5.3 truck motor is not an LS motor. Your LQ, it's not.
No.
Okay? Stop calling everything an LS swap. Just because some LS parts pulled on it doesn't mean it's not. If it does not have it, you don't call a regular CTS a CTSV because, well, it shares the body.
No.
That you'd be pissed. You don't call a base Stingray Vet that's a Z06. No, you don't. You call it a Stingray. You call it a base model Vet because if it was a Z06, you'd address it as such. There's a reason why it's a Z06. It's because it has that designation. It has that, you know, LS6 or that LS7 or whatever the criteria might be, right? If you're going to buy and do a proper LS swap, do a proper LS swap. If you're even entertaining an LS swap and you're not even thinking about an LS3 or higher, you're probably just wasting your time, to be honest. You probably do more with whatever's in your vehicle. And also, a lot of people really have conflated the idea that like you could just throw all kinds of power and like LSs are just, they're just going to eat everything. They're going to take all kinds of shit. They're never going to break. You're never going to have any problems. I can't tell you how many times I've seen blown up LSs because people just throw some shit together. And it's like, yeah, you know, it might work for a while, but like it's just like any other motor, any other engine. If you don't build it properly for your application and for what you're trying to do, you're going to have problems with it.
Yep.
And when you do that correctly, it's not all that cheap.
no.
I don't think you guys realize that, like, you're not going to do, if you're doing a swap and it's cheap and you're talking about a budget swap, you are cutting corners. That is what a budget swap is. If you're doing a swap correctly and you're doing everything that needs to be done to put the right engine in the vehicle that you're trying to do, whatever combination you're trying to work out, like an LS3 crate motor is going to start at like $6 grand, $5-6 grand.
But Brendan, can't I just go grab one from the junkyard?
Yeah, if you can go find a used LS3 out of, like, you know, let's say you go find one out of a Vet or a Camaro or something like that, it's still going to be used. You don't know what the condition of that motor is. I would still recommend going through it at a bare minimum.
It's basically you're getting a core.
And verifying, yeah. I treat every motor that comes to me used as a core because I don't know what the condition of that is. Now, if I pop off heads and I see that, okay, you know what, cylinder walls look good, things here look good, then I don't mind.
Maybe you got lucky.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. And you can get lucky. I've seen it. But at the same time, I've seen the flip side of that coin too, and you don't always get lucky.
But
so
to touch on the thing you said, right? Go find a Corvette, you can go find a Camaro. That's to your point there, right? Is your LT motor is not an LS, right? Your truck motor is not an LS. And that's a lot of people. They go, oh, well, LS swap, and I'm going to go grab one out of an old Silverado or a Tahoe or something. That's not an LS motor. And if you're going to make that build to something that's like really, truly good and worth the energy, it's going to be expensive because you're going to have to rebuild the whole damn thing.
And just because that truck motor will handle a little bit of power for a while does not mean it's going to do that.
They're also
in the best possible way. Yeah, exactly.
And LS is a lightweight motor-ish.
Yeah, like an LS3 actually makes an LS3 is why the reason why I say that is because you can very easily touch 500 on an LS3 for a motor that weighs like I think 400-ish pounds.
I think so.
So like that's a very light motor in comparison to like even let's say in an FRS, right?
Yeah.
A fully dressed FA20 in comparison to a fully dressed LS3, you might pick up 250 pounds.
Yep.
Okay, well, 250 pounds, 300 pounds in that car is not really shit. The car only weighed 2,700 pounds to start with. So if you have a 3,000 pound car that makes 500 horse, well, you're 800 pounds lighter than the Camaro that it came in that made the same power.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That's good. That's a car that makes sense maybe to do an LS swap in. If what you desire is a bunch of power.
Yes.
And that's the thing that gets on my nerves about the LS swap at people. And I'm going to be very clear. I have an LS 400 UCF 20.
Yep.
It's got a good engine in it. When that blows up, I might replace it with an LS motor because it's cheap. That is a car that makes sense to do that in.
Yes.
Because they're comparable sizes. It was designed for that weight. It was designed for that size. That makes sense. Like we kind of touched on this last week when we talked about Miatas. You throw a bunch of power to Miata, you kind of ruined it. I mean, you might have fun in it. I'm not going to deny that, but you kind of ruined it because you took a car that was designed for something. So if you take an LS motor and you throw it in an FRS, you'll probably have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not necessarily the right call if what you want is an excellent handling car, because you just threw a bunch of weight on the front and you're going to throw off the balance. And yeah, compared to an FA20, yeah, right? That LS motor is going to be heavier. It's going to put the weight in a different spot. And that's the thing people don't just figure is like, oh, well, it's 350 versus like 350 pounds versus 400 pounds. But it's 350 pounds versus 400 pounds in what orientation?
Yeah, but now you have 60% of your weight up front or 65% of your weight up front versus, the 52% of the weight that was up front originally.
Where you have to put it, because where the transmission tunnel fits, right?
Right, exactly.
There's all these added things that kind of go on, and maybe, yeah, sure, you went up by 50 pounds, but you had to push the motor forward 7 inches, 6 inches. That's a lot.
Well, and so if you were like, and I'm all for if somebody's going to do this the proper way, right? Like if somebody's going to, if you have to modify your trans tunnel and you're going to build a new firewall and you're going to do all of these things that keep or try to maintain some level of balance in the car, and you're taking all of these things into consideration. But again, if you're doing that, probably not just budget swapping this. This isn't something, so like the only thing I think that you're going to just budget do this, right, is like if you're taking LS parts and putting them on a already LS adjacent vehicle, like for instance, like I'm all for somebody just taking, LS bits, right? Heads from, maybe a Camaro or a Vet and sticking them on, a truck motor inside their Sierra Denali and, putting a blower on and turning it up and, messing around. That's fine. I'm not giving whatever. You want to do that? That's fine because the platform's already there. I think the people who are just trying to dump an LS into everything, I mean, if you want an LS and a Miata, and you just want to smoke the tires out,
fine.
That's fine.
It does make it a good car.
But I think the idea of like going around and telling everybody just LS swap it, just toss it in there. The answer is just toss an LS in there. Like, yeah, kind of like we were talking about in the Miata last week, right? Where like, yeah, the Miata was the answer when the Miata was the $500 car.
Yep.
And like maybe an LS swap, right? Or like these, truck motor swaps were something when you could just go buy one for $500. And like, you could just toss in a junkyard motor for $500 and you didn't care if it ran for longer than a season because you're like, whatever, I'm dumping this in here. I'm just going to run as many times, as many weekends as I can down the strip and see what I can do. And that's cool. If that's your goal, that's fine. But, establish that as your goal and don't try to be like, yes, your street car, buddy, like your street Honda Civic, you should put an LS in that. Your Accord needs stop telling people that bullshit because
it's adjacent to the idea, right? It's adjacent to the idea. Car guys do this bullshit all the time. It's adjacent to the idea of, a Miatas are only like, because I've heard people, right? We said Miata's $6,000, right? Miata's $7,000 now, and that's like, and then we're saying that's for like a one that's even worth buying. Right, like not worth the price, but worth buying.
You might find the $1,000 Miata right now, but I promise no $1,000 Miata right now is a Miata worth purchasing.
And that's the point. Is you get this crap from car guys all the time. Oh, you can get one of those for insert 20% less than they actually fucking go for.
Yeah.
Because car guys do this crap where they buy a car that that just needs a little work, and it's a shit heap. It's a piece of shit car that barely runs, and they're constantly freaking fixing it, and they're dumping tons of money into just little repairs here and there when they could have saved up a little more and actually got one that was a decent example. And it's the same thing with these motors now, is you can get a cheap one, right? But it's going to have a lot of problems, or you're going to have to do a lot to make it work. And it's just all adjacent to that idea of
probably just go to a recycler and find a crashed, C6 vet with an LS3 in it, and you could have that yanked out and pay, $4,000 for a used motor that's complete with everything there, and maybe only has 60,000 miles on it.
But it's to me, it's just all adjacent to this idea that you can have a cheap LS swap. It's not going to be good. Just like you can have a cheap Miata or a cheap 350 or a cheap FRS. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be something you actually want to drive very often. If for no other reason than, I know this is the problem, right? Is you built it, you might have fun with it for a little while, but car guys are notorious for just dumping their bullshit on other people.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen to it. So you don't just LS swap it. Like, find the motor that actually matches what you want. Find the motor that actually matches your application is the big thing. And consider that there is more to having a fun car than just a shitload of horsepower. That's something that bugs the endless hell out of me.
Yeah, like you can chase. It's more ideal to chase refinement than it is to chase a number or a time or whatever else.
Yeah.
So I think I think most, and you can see it often in the type of cars that usually kind of gain traction, right? The people who build stuff where like you always see at shows or you always see at events, you always see at tracks, and it's like, wow, this guy's always got something that is like. Just like, and this always brings attention. And usually
something that's been well sorted.
It's usually because that person's probably been through a few builds or a few projects at this point, and they kind of learned this along the way. So
yep.
Once you've kind of made these mistakes a few times where you're just like, oh man, I just pissed away money doing this or pissed away money doing that, and then you start realizing you could spend money with intention in certain areas, you'll get a lot farther.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and I do like that you kind of touched on the fact that car guys are the number one proprietors of girl math, where they just make up shit. Where it's like, well, actually, if the car's $10,000 and then the blower's only $7,000, and then if I take the factory wheels off of it and sell those for $300, I can buy the $2,000 wheels because it's basically like those weren't $2,000.
They were $1,700 wheels, and
yeah, exactly. And it's like, no,
it's the same people that buy a $1,200 car to throw $2,200 rims on it and then spend $300 on used tires. I hate you. If you do that, I hate you. I'm gonna look in the camera. I'm gonna make sure very clear. If you do that, I hate you.
Yeah, if you're buying a $1,500 car and you're gonna put $3,000 worth of wheels on it, you better spend the money and get proper tires.
There is actually somebody on Twitter who made that exact tweet. That's who I'm referencing. You can find them later. They said they spent $1,200 on the car, or no, sorry, $1,400 on the car, and then $2,200 on the wheels and $480 on the tires. I remember it. It's burned into my brain. Yeah. Anyway,
you see that tweet in your dream, like when you close your eyes at night. Yeah. Does that tweet just burn into your eyelids?
It will be. Anyway, so there you go. I hope that worked well for you, Ian. Another comment that we got, and we said we would respond to comments, which is why we're doing it. It's like the first two we got. I know we're both a little bit geeked about the fact that people actually talk to us.
Somebody outside of the near comments on the on the timeline video.
Right. Is about CVT transmissions. Now, this comment initially, the one I kind of saw, it came in on a video I posted, a short I posted about tire traction rate with respect to EVs, because I kind of touched on it in our like 01X episode, but I didn't really get into the math, and I did like a quick short video with the math on it on the whiteboard and explained that, and somebody commented basically asking like, okay, since basically the emphasis is that you kind of get the best slip control by being able to control the angular velocity of the wheel. What do you guys think about CVTs? And that kind of, I think, is interesting from two perspectives, because I know you're kind of the engine guy, I'm kind of the tire guy. Like, my perspective on CVTs is, I think, like, mechanically speaking, engineeringly speaking, they're pretty cool, right? It's a fantastic idea. Like, through the years, we've just been like, hey, we can't approximate actually a smooth torque curve, a smooth power curve, so we just throw gears at it until we can kind of make something that looks like it. And it showed in that video I made, like, if you look at the, you know, torque curve of like an EV, it's real high and then it just kind of drops as it goes. And if you just throw a bunch of gear ratios on it, they actually kind of like make a bunch of arches that follow that's torque versus speed curve. And that's sort of what you're trying to do. And CVTs are just like, hey, I can do that too, but I can do it with ICE engines. So mechanically, they're really super cool. Compared to an EV, they're not going to be as good for that, because one of the reasons why EVs are so good for that angular speed control is because they're fucking electric. And so it's just controllers, right? It's just, there's no mechanical, right? It's just like current good. And then it just decides, right? And it's making decisions way faster than any engine could.
Yeah, it's basically just seeing, hey, I want this value. What do I need to do to meet it? And it's going to just meet that value.
And that is my, like, Tesla fun fact that I always tell people is, Elon gave the edict a long time ago that Teslas had to have spaceship acceleration, which is why Teslas don't burn tires. They don't, right? You never hear Teslas doing burnouts and shit. And that's because Elon was very specific, like futuristic, zero drama acceleration. It just goes, which is actually the best way to get the most acceleration, right? Because tire spin means worse traction. You're getting less traction. And so that's actually my fun fact, is that's pretty much the reason, like one of the main reasons why they went so hard on the accelerations as hard as they do and got the most out of the tire, is because of Elon's like, I don't want to hear any chirping. Coincidentally, that also is the reason why Tesla, like, relative to EVs, Teslas actually get pretty damn good treadwear, because as well, treadwear is exacerbated as you get above that slip. So that's my fun fact. But anyway, I'm curious about how you feel about CVTs as the engine guy.
So I feel like a lot of people are probably going to be surprised by this. I actually don't hate CVTs. I think, depending on the context that we're looking at here. Now, obviously, if we're looking at a performance level context, right, CVT, obviously, it's not going to be as engaging as, you know, the manual transmission enjoyers. It's not going to be as sharp as something like a DCT.
I'm glad you said engaging, because that's really what it is engagement.
Yeah, because, I mean, that is what the whole benefit of a manual really
more fun
is. Yeah, and beyond fun, as soon as you take out the fun in the equation, it's irrelevant. You know, a manual transmission is not better. I mean, we could do a whole episode arguing and talking about, you know, transmissions, and I think we will do that in the future, because we've talked about that in the past.
We have,
but I think at the end of the day, right, from like what you said, right, from a mechanical standpoint, a CVT is actually very valuable, because the way that you can interpret the data, it just works more effectively. It also, for like a passenger, right, or for somebody who's in a car who's just trying to get groceries, it's very comfortable. Like, you don't have the jerking motion that you get out of, you know, a DCT snapping, or, you know, a manual where you're bucking gears because, you know, somebody's kind of not familiar with driving that car, or they just suck. Or, you know, even just kind of like most even automatics, kind of just, some of them are a little clunkier, chunkier than others. You know, I think, you know, like a good example is like, as good as something like a 10R80 can be, a 10R80 has a lot of issues where they flare all the time. And so, like, it's always chasing gears, and that's really annoying. And you can feel that.
The ZF9 front-wheel drive transmission from every Chrysler product around 2011 to 2019 is fucking garbage, and it just hunts for gears all the time, and it shifts like an asshole. And I've had two cars with one, and they fucking suck. They're awful.
Yeah, and it's overall kind of a miserable experience, especially when you're already in a vehicle that you're like, okay, this isn't fun. It's not enjoyable.
No. Yeah.
And now that it's not fun or enjoyable, it's also being increasingly miserable by the fact that, like, it's not even being good at being a car anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not being effective at just getting you to where you need to go and doing so with minimal frustration. And that is where a CVT shines.
Yep.
And this is why I think, like, this is why a lot of, like, normal people enjoy just driving, like, a normal Impreza or, like, an Outback or a Forester. And that's, like, why people, you will almost always hear somebody who, like, gets in a Subaru, right? Be like, yeah, like, I love the way a Subaru drives. Because Subaru has done a very good job of integrating their CVTs, in my opinion, into that. And I think the customers, like, kind of reflect that. I mean, you can see, like, a lot of people like that a Forester, or, you know, is kind of a no drama car. Like, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff going on there.
No.
They're not really complicated, but they are simple, they're effective, they're confidence inspiring, and they're comfortable. Despite the fact that they're not, you know, the most luxurious of interiors.
Debatable from me on the comfort part, but yeah.
Well, I mean, just from a driving perspective,
yeah.
You know, like, it's not tiring or fatiguing to drive a Forester in the same degree, a modern Forester, I should say, or a modern Impreza to the same degree as it might be driving, like, a 2010-ish Explorer, right? Because, like, the clunkiness.
My experience where this comes from is, right, so I had a Forester, right, and this was around, like, it was like in 2009, and that thing actually was pretty great. I thought the ride was comfortable, wasn't super loud, rattly. Yeah. And then when I was selling my Q5, we were like, hey, let's try a Forester, right? So I actually got it was like it was from Carvana, right? So I had it for like 7 days. It was like a 20, I want to say 17-ish Forester with a manual. And oh my God, it was the loudest, clunkiest, rattliest piece of shit I've driven in a long time. Like, so but
well, and I think
full
to that
disclosure,
standard,
I was driving a Q5 for the year before that, so maybe it's not a rattly, clunky piece of shit when you compare it to most other cars in its segment.
Yeah, I mean, I think, coming from a Q5 down to a Forester, you're definitely
it might just be a bit of a bias from my end, but no, I agree with everything else you said though, like about the transmissions and 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I guess in short, right, like, I'm not really a CVT hater. Again, if I'm choosing a performance car, I'm probably not picking a CVT. I don't think it's the most ideal for that.
For fun, I want to be clear.
For fun.
It does have history. I can't remember in which race series, but they did use a CVT in one series. I can't remember if it was
when I do think,
Indy
like, the new
F1.
WRX GT is using a CVT in it, and, like,
Yeah.
I think it's going to become more common. I think even some of the other platforms, I think Nissan's been using CVTs for quite a while.
Nissan's been using
now.
CVTs for a long time. Now, unfortunately, Nissan is not a glowing endorsement of performance, but
no, it's not. But I do think that, like, one, I mean, CVTs of today are considerably better than the CVTs of yesteryear, right? So, like, the
that's
2010
another big
CVTs,
one, yeah.
like, yes, 2010 CVTs, you know, they kind of just suddenly would fail on you. It felt
they just can't handle very much power either, like in their traditional forms.
But and I think that's because of the way that it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, and that's why I think for a normal commuter car, a CVT is fine, and that's why I think I think you'll see a lot of people, right? They don't really even seem to have too many complaints about the swap to an EV from a CVT because they're already kind of similar. Like you said, a CVT is a very nice bridge between what an EV does driveline-wise and what an ICE engine does.
Just, like, actually letting you optimize for the efficiency. And that's because with CVTs being low power and less engaging, that's what they've been used for primarily. But I mean, in theory, right, a CVT could also just be optimized for the power band, which is, I think, what they're doing in the WRXs and STIs that have the CVTs. Is they're saying, hey, this car makes this really good power in this narrow band, so we just make sure that the CVT keeps you there, and you're just getting the most out of your car. And that, I mean, that's good. Yeah. Is it fun? I don't know, but
no, exactly. Well, and I think this is where, like, I mean, you could kind of come back to the debate, right? That people had forever was like, oh, is the GTR just a computer on wheels? Because you can just, you know, launch it and go. And, like, this is kind of coming to that point, and I think we're reaching a point where most new cars, guys, are just kind of gonna be that way. Like, we're reaching a point where, like, the only way for things to actually get faster than where we are now is for them to get more efficient. And unfortunately, efficiency means like getting rid of the fun things,
Yeah.
because the fun things like blowing your tires off, that's not efficient,
Nope.
right? So like
Sound not particularly efficient, right? Like the rumbles and stuff aren't particularly efficient. You can
no.
do tricks with the exhaust, but ultimately
No, and
like
a prime example of that, right? Even like in Subarus, everybody likes to debate whether or not you should have an equal length or an unequal length header.
Yeah.
Well, like an unequal length header literally gives you the Subaru rumble
Yep.
because it forces the exhaust gases to collide.
Yep.
Well, yes, that will give you a little bit more low end torque, but guys, if you're smashing a bunch of air from one cylinder to another into each other inside the pipe, that's going to create a restriction. Yep. So now you're losing flow, which
Yep.
means you're going to lose power.
yes.
It's just that.
But it sounds cooler.
Yeah, it might sound neat, but it doesn't
not as
mean
good.
it's worthwhile.
That's
and so like
That's the
you
thing
have to
for
look
me that
for
I
the
appreciate
balance.
about Dodge, right? At least until recently, like that's why I think Dodge has always kind of appealed in a way, because their whole thing is just making the screw making something that's just efficient or just good. Like it also has to feel fun, right?
Yeah, and I think like because realistically, what people want is balance, right?
Yeah.
Like they think they just want power until they have to make the sacrifices of the sound and the driveline and the other things that all come together to make that work.
Yep.
But they think they're just chasing, the number there, where in reality what they want is the feeling. They want the emotion
that it comes with.
That it comes with that. They want the drama. They don't actually want all of the extra things. So
you actually want the car that's worse in a lot of cases.
yeah, there's a lot of people. And this is why I think like perceived performance is probably a more appropriate way to like coin that, right? Because
why the Camaro lost to the Mustang.
Yeah, because
it's not because of the sight lines. It's because perceived performance, the Mustang was better. By the average person.
It feels rougher. It's more raw. It's this. Like, how do you calculate the rawness of steering feel?
That is one of the big things in my industry. It has been, because for people, right? I'm a tire engineer, but I've been a tire engineer at OEMs. I've worked at Ford, I've worked at Chrysler, I've worked at Chevy, GM. One of the big things is in the push to efficiency in the engineering process, right? There's a lot of tuning that goes in the car. People don't realize that there's a lot of driving that happens. Just a lot of test and feel, right? You go out and you drive a tire and you see how it feels. You go out, you change bars. How did that feel? You go out, you revalve the dampers. How did that feel? Feel a lot of feel. And you do some numbers, you do some lap times and stuff, but a lot of it is just, what does it feel like? And in a drive to efficiency, most manufacturers are pushing themselves towards quantification of these things. And I've asked the question over and over again, just like, how do you quantify fun? How do you quantify good in the context of steering? How do you quantify it? Yeah. You can't. Maybe with basic statistics, you can quantify it, and but you lose something.
And I can say too, right? So with quite a decent chunk of experience in the testing realm of things, and I won't name any names of anything, but when we're doing testing, the products that we're testing half the time, you're talking, this stuff is dated for 2028, 2029.
Yeah.
This stuff's 4 or 5 years out, and it's just getting it's at the point where it's in early stages of development, 4 or 5 years ahead of time, and then even more so in the area of actually doing test driving on vehicles, we were still driving 27, 28. This was not you're doing a lot of all the way to on road normal OEMs spend an immense amount of effort. I don't think
people realize that a vehicle development timeline is 6 years, unless you're a company like Tesla. It's 5 to 6 years is pretty normal. I remember S550 came out, and I swear to God, it was next week. They're talking about S650. It's
yeah.
It happens that way.
Well, and that's a prime example too, not to get too off topic, of why, something like the S650 really is kind of just uh an overlay or like a facelift in a lot of ways to like an S550, because like, I mean, you can't just spend 8 years developing something and throw all that away for the next thing. It's
yeah, right. Like if you talk Fox body to SN95, they're really just like they're revisions, right?
yeah,
The SN95 is a revision of the Fox body in a lot of ways.
yeah, and which is honestly, in my opinion, that is more ideal
Yes.
than a like, oh, let's get a new platform every 2 or 3 years.
No, that's a stupid idea.
If you were getting a new platform constantly, I don't think you guys realize how fucking shitty all of your cars would be.
Yep.
Because if you were getting this revisional style of work, right? Like, and like Subaru is a prime example, because Subaru hasn't changed a whole lot of stuff in like the last 30 years.
No.
But every iteration of STI is a marginal improvement forward.
Yep.
And same thing, like everybody's like, oh, the whatever, the newest vet is the best vet, right? And it should be, because things are developing. But like that level of refinement that comes over time, like we wouldn't have found all of the issues in an EJ25
if
by
it
just
hadn't
like
been being made since the fucking Flintstones.
Right. Exactly. So like, because we've been using the EJ25 for the last 30 years, that's why we're so capable of making power on it and so well developed on that platform now. And it's the same thing, like, the LS, that is good, and it has all of its advantages that it has, because it has 30 years of development that went into that. LT architecture looked at LS and like, they took what they learned from those platforms, obviously, and carried it up.
Just had a realization based on what you said. We were talking early on in one of our episodes about, the fact that like front wheel drive cars largely have kind of disappeared in terms of performance usage. And I realized that it's with the CAFE standards, right? We had a real push towards improved fuel economy. And so largely manufacturers had to abandon what they've been doing and focus on building new technology. And so Ford, being very smart, started the EcoBoost, the turbocharging, really, really early compared to most.
Yeah.
And so I realized, I think a big part of the reason why we have this big gap in kind of fun or even like moderately enjoyable dailies is because there was an unnatural push. And by unnatural, I mean like outside of market forces, push to revise everything to be hyper efficient very, very rapidly. And so you lost all refinement. And that's why these motors screw up. It's why they don't feel very good. It's why they don't make what they should necessarily, but it's better than it used to be. It's a lot of that is because it was like universally the auto industry kind of just had to reset. And Toyota resisted for a long time, and Honda resisted for a long time, but they've even, Honda very particularly has gone turbocharging.
Well, and you can see the effects of that right now, in my opinion, because I would say the last like year or two, as much cool stuff as Toyota's been pushing out lately, and I do think like right now, like Toyota does have a fantastic lineup. I think their trucks right now are solid. I think they look great. I think the fact that like they have 3 sports cars that you could go buy right now. You could go buy a GR Corolla, a GR86, and a GR Supra.
Yep.
Like that is a phenomenal lineup. On top of having like if I had to pick a single manufacturer to buy all my vehicles from right now,
it'd probably
I would probably pick Toyota.
Yeah,
because it's just the most versatile in my opinion at the moment.
Yep. Daily, I'd daily a Prius. I'd own a Tacoma or a Tundra.
A Sequoia, probably. I would probably. I think I would get out of the Taco and take a Sequoia, because I really do like the
I agree with you. Take a Sequoia, a Prius as a daily, and then I would have a GR86 as my fun car.
Yeah.
Hands down. There you go. Simple.
Yeah, or you could be like, all right, I'm not going to have I'll have a GR86 or a Supra in the garage for weekends, and I'm going to daily the GR Corolla and have the Sequoia for my wife.
Think of another manufacturer that I could do that with.
I mean, Ford, maybe?
No, because here's the thing. They don't have a daily that I would want. Because,
yeah, and that's fair.
Like, I could get a Mustang for a performance car. I'd get, like, an Expedition or an F-150. Well,
and I was just about to say, I would get, like, an Expedition, and that would probably... I would probably get an Expedition a Ranger Raptor and a Mustang.
Yeah, but the thing is, I want that
But like
daily, right? That fuel efficient little daily, because that's what I like. And I can't do it with Ford. I can't do it with GM. Can't do it with FCA. I can't do it with Honda.
Nissan.
I can't do it with Nissan.
Not doing it with Mitsubishi.
Definitely not doing it with Mitsubishi.
Maybe Volkswagen.
Closest, I wouldn't do it with Volkswagen either.
No, because Volkswagen's not going to get you. Volkswagen's not going to get you no tow rig. You know, like
no. BMW maybe. If I expand BMW to include their umbrella, because I could get a Mini for a daily, which is what I do right now. I would have an X7, as like my main tow-ish car. Not full tow, right? But they could tow a fair amount for what it is, for my needs. Not like a full tow rig, right? But and then like a performance car for sure. But that's like the only other one I can think of, and that's going to cost you 4x what it would cost to get a Toyota.
2 to 3 times the Toyota market, and not to mention, like, if we're talking about the Toyotas, you can include the Lexus as well. So I mean, like, you wanted to have something that was like, a little bit nicer as a weekend car. You could have, LC 500 or an IS 500.
If you wanted an adventure vehicle, even right, because they have the I like not the I wouldn't really say like the new Land Cruiser, because I've not heard good things about it, but the
LX
what's the new Lexus? What is the Lexus version of the Land Cruiser now? I can't remember.
I believe it's the LX 550.
I think you're right. I've heard really good things about that. That's much better.
I think
off-roading.
Yeah, maybe it is the LX 550.
I'm pulling it up right now. No, I think the LX is the full size.
Yeah, that's the Sequoia one. I think a GX 550 is the.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Oh, come on. Oh, that's because I clicked on hybrid electric. That's why I was like, why can't I find it? It was stupid. Yep, GX. Yeah, GX. No, I will say this, though. I would do unspeakable things for an LX.
I do think the LX looks really good.
It's so nice. I think have been eyeing one for a long time.
Speaking of Lexus, and I guess we can. I'll leave this as a little teaser.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
for next week. But
transition a bit. Yeah.
But going into next week, I think maybe we should try and talk about that new Lexus sports car platform that
I have not learned much about it. I'd like to.
So yeah, all right, we'll discuss that a bit this week, and then we'll let you guys know what our thoughts are.
The rear seats in the LX 700, which is the hybrid, recline. It's noted reclines up to 48 degrees. The rear seats basically go flat.
Like that's the third row, not the.
It's I think the second row, but still
okay. That's great. That's a lot of.
Oh my god! And that neon. I'm sorry. I know we're in the middle of recording a podcast, and I'm just like, I'm looking at an LX 700H. Do you know how much this bitch goes for? I haven't even built it. I haven't even built it yet. The
starting MSRP is probably 101.
So on a 600, right, which is the non-hybrid, 107,450.
Yeah. So hybrid's 119.
A LX 700H Ultra Luxury, right? We're going to go top end here. Starts at 141,950.
Ooh.
And I would do so many bad things for this car. God, they're pretty.
They do look fantastic, but that is a hard to swallow pill for my wallet. I'm not gonna lie.
So speaking of, we'll switch topics because we're running short on time, and I wanted to get to it. Speaking of Japanese luxury cars, Honda is doing something interesting now with Acura, specifically the NSX, I believe, that you told me about, and I'd like you to talk about that because I'm interested.
Yeah, for the States, it'll be for Acura, but I think the main focus of the program will be obviously is Honda, but they are actually launching a heritage program. And so if you guys have been staying up on information with the OEMs in regards to like this kind of stuff, you'd know that Nissan has also done this. You'd know that Mazda has been doing this for a little while now. And I believe Toyota has also announced a heritage program. And basically the point of these heritage programs is that for a lot of these older vehicles, obviously the beloved stuff from like the 80s and 90s, Which I think the OEMs have realized now at this point that like that is a very desirable era of cars, and that a lot of people are willing to pay a good chunk of money to even purchase one of these in the first place, regardless of parts availability. But I think what we're seeing here now from Honda, and like I said, with a bunch of other manufacturers having heritage programs, is the fact that they're actually going to be reproducing parts for these vehicles of this era. And so Honda's announced that they're going to be launching their heritage program, with the first vehicle that they're going to let take the lead with that being the original NSX. So
I just had a thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
So every single time an automotive enthusiast wants to say anything about company should just make performance car in my dream specifications and it'll sell like hotcakes, and it never does. Because car guys are broke.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me now why things like this are happening. They have realized they can still get the brand equity. They can still get the marketing. They can still build the love of the brand. If they just continue to support the stuff they already made, because they know they're not going to sell any of the stuff people say they want.
Right. And I think that's due to the fact that a lot of these platforms, right? The platforms like the NSX, platforms like the GTR, the platforms like the Supra and the RX-7, these platforms really are beloved by people, and they are willing to spend money. We see this constantly. I mean, how many times have you seen an RX-7 sell for $50,000, $60,000, a GTR sell for north of $100,000? NSXs have been selling for north of $100,000. Supras have been selling for north of $100,000. So I think the manufacturers are looking at this and they're saying, hey, clearly people want these cars still.
Yes.
So we're losing out by letting just the aftermarket handle this, and even the aftermarket to some degree. Like you're not really getting like a lot of these companies like Dorman, right? Who's like making stuff like they're not still repopping a lot of weird stuff like connectors or things like that. But those are the components, right, that are failing, right?
Yeah.
The person who wants to restore one of these cars, who does want to have of the factory fresh A80 Supra, or the factory fresh NSX, right? You want all of the underhood garments that go there. You want all of the insulation that goes there. You want all of the plastic clips the way they were supposed to be, because that to you might be what makes that car valuable. Now, personally, I don't really care too much about the overall I need to have everything completely original and being able to be maintained. That's not me.
But there's certain basic stuff that being supported really just makes it cheaper to own the car.
Right. And I can tell you right now, and you could probably attest to this to some degree, right? So you having an LS400 with a 1UZ in it, I know that your power steering pump, practically impossible to find. Yeah. Nobody makes it.
Nope.
So if you have an issue with that, right?
I'm going to have to find a solution, which is probably going to be retrofitting some other manufacturer's part into it.
It's either that, or now you need to maybe go to electric power steering, or you need to source a used pump, right? Yeah. And so I've seen people pay upwards of $400 or $500 for a used power steering pump that will likely put them in the same situation the current one they have is, or attempt to rebuild theirs. Other kinds of situations.
The thing is, if it's me, I probably will rebuild that pump and get parts made for it and everything. But that's not what most people are going to do. Most people are just going to get rid of the car.
And I think that, to some people, who are like myself, where I do desperately want an NSX. An NSX has been one of my dream cars for a long time, and I'm sure you've seen me talk about
honestly it's on my list of things I really want to. So
yeah, I'm sure you've heard me talk about how the fact that and a GT500 are tied for the next thing that I would like to buy. So yeah, I mean, I am super ecstatic that this is a thing, because I can't tell you how many times I've looked personally at wrecked NSXs and been like, all right, how do I save this?
You literally just did that a week ago.
Exactly. And I've looked at them since then too. But
I can't
finding
believe
a bumper, finding
the
finding parts for it
new
is
NSX
difficult.
is even still that expensive. Sorry, I was curious because we were talking about how much NSXs were going for, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, but what about the new ones? Like, and those are still going for like
Yes,
100
those.
to 150.
Yep, those are also still pricey.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I mean it's to me, I think this is good. I think this does two things. I think one, you're going to be able to keep these cars alive and probably, honestly, healthier than ever because
yeah.
this will kind of prop up probably some kind of like 90s JDM era like restoration shops.
I wonder
You
if
can already kind of see. I know there. I
the
know of like
Germans will
Tommy
do
F.
it
Yeah, with
too.
Garage Zero, doing the GTR stuff.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so stuff like that. You might have people stateside actually be able to kind of start, doing the same thing with,
Yes.
NSXs and RX-7s and specialty shops propping up that are just based around these. Now, I would imagine any shop doing just NSX work or just, RX-7 work, it's not going to be cheap, guys.
No.
But this is the kind of stuff that is what's going to keep those cars alive. And so having shops that pop up and having programs like this allowing these shops or even just normal Joe Schmo to just walk into his Honda dealer and order that power steering pump when it fails or order that weird bracket that when it needs to be replaced or bushing. This extends the life of these vehicles, and I'm
Yes.
really looking forward to that, especially as somebody who is a aspiring NSX owner, because like I said, I've been looking forward to buying one for a while, and I've looked at the parts availability for like these damaged cars,
It's not very good.
and I've held back due to the fact that like I know it's going to be a struggle to get some of these parts.
Yeah. There's a reason why they're so cheap wrecked, and it's not because it's wrecked. It's because restoring them is going to cost as much as buying a decent one.
Yeah, exactly. And so this leads into my second thing, which is probably more of a concern here. Well, I guess it's more of a concern, or less of. I think it's not so much of a concern, but I do think we might see a second rise or second bubble over the next few years for these cars of this era, because now that they're going to be having support yet again, the people who have them are going to be able to fix them up better. You're going to have better examples of these cars. Granted, mileage is not going to go down, because mileage will only go up from this point, but this quality of the cars on the market is probably going to go up, which is going to push the market up.
I think it will temporarily. I agree. I think it will long term.
I think it will stabilize back out once people are like, yeah, I can just, it doesn't matter if it's wrecked. I'll just go buy it.
That's, I think, what it is. I think it'll long term come down because ultimately availability will be better.
But I think, in the 3 to 5, we're going to see a little hump.
Because you're going to see people go, oh, that's a really nice Supra. That's a really nice NSX.
The people who, right, so something I've said recently a lot is, and the reason why I was kind of like, I've said for a little while now that the next vehicles I would like to attain is either a GT500, 2022 GT500, or an NSX. And the reason why I want a 22 GT500 is because I can pick up one of those. I could do the basic things that I would do to it, and I could have a 1,000 wheel horsepower car that I could just drive.
Yes.
Right. And so my goal for this vehicle was purely to do the few things that I would do, and then leave it alone, because I already have enough other projects and enough other things to mess with. But because I have all of those other projects and things to mess with, nothing works. And so this would just work. I could go get in this. I could drive this to Riverside or GAT, and I could hang out at these shows. I could go hang out at events, cruises, whatever, and I could take it out on the weekends. If I wanted to go out on a date, you can just do that. And it works, and it's fun, and it's just done, and it's relatively new. It'll be low mileage, and I don't have to worry about it.
It's the same reason I bought my Mini, because it just works, and it's fun, and it looks nice, and it's different, and it's something that I can go take and do what I want with, and I don't have to worry about it, and I get 33 miles to gallon.
So for me, right, having that, the reason why I started leaning in that direction was due to the fact that, like, I do want an NSX. I want an NSX a lot. I've wanted one for the last 10, 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
and I'll want it for the next 15, 20 years if I don't get one soon. So,
Yeah.
but looking at those, it's hard to justify spending $100,000 on a 30-year-old car that you can't get parts for.
Yes.
A GT500, it's hard to justify that that's supposed to be the car that I just get in and drive around, and like it's the nice car that just always works when it's 30 years old. Because in my experience,
30-year-old cars don't just work.
Is not going to just work.
Well, and you get in a wreck, that's gone. You're not going to get your money back out of it, right?
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to repair it the same way that you would if it was newer. It's not disposable. So it can't be a daily.
No, it can't. And realistically, I could daily a GT500 outside of the winter months here because you're not going anywhere in the snow in a GT500. No. But for the most part, like summer, spring, I could easily drive that GT500 around. And if something, God forsaken, was to happen to that vehicle,
you could get new parts and shit, no problem.
Yeah, I can get new parts. I could fix it. I could repair it. I could buy it back from insurance, whatever the situation might be. But there's a long life ahead of that vehicle.
Yes. And
that has a value to me that was really swaying me that direction over something like the NSX. But with stuff like this, it does make it closes that gap a little bit. I still think the GT500 is probably it's
probably the right choice.
It's probably the next best move, but I can promise an NSX is in the near future.
Yeah. And apparently with how much the prices on my preferred stupid car have come down, I might be considering one of those in the next 5 to 6 years.
Okay, I gotta ask now. Because
what is my stupid car?
Yes, what is your preferred stupid car now that I just yapped for 10 minutes about?
It is, let's call it the spiritual predecessor to the new NSX from a different brand.
Is it the Mira?
It's the i8.
The i8? Okay.
Yeah.
Those, I have seen that those have been coming
50,000 miles for $45,000.
Yeah, dude, I think when the Minis, I think when you've squared away on the Mini there, I think that might be the move for you. That's honestly, it
depends on how much I can get back out of the Mini.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, that probably gets pretty similar gas mileage to the Mini, doesn't it?
I would assume. Here's the thing. Okay. People hate on these things. I don't know why.
I think they look cool.
They're cool. They're cool. Yeah. It is. This is the car.
It's not a numbers car. It's not breaking records.
They're pretty quick. Sick. They're pretty quick. I mean, like realistically, when you see like I can't remember. I think I was looking it up a while ago, but like they're performing at like Stelvia at like Julia QFV numbers, if I remember correctly, in terms of like track times and stuff. Like it's a competent car, and they look sick, especially if you can find one that had, or I can't remember if they all did or not. That's got the blue,
seat belts.
I think they all had the blue seat belts, right? But those are super cool. The problem with them is that it's a carbon fiber monocoque, so it gets hit, it's fucked, right? Like that breaks and car's totaled.
But I will say, I think you'd be hard pressed to spend $40,000, $50,000 on something else that wouldn't make you look like you got more money.
The thing I would be the most worried about is that by the time I would be able to afford one reasonably, I'm not convinced my back would allow me to get in and out of one. But I am married, so it doesn't matter if I look like an asshole getting out of a car, because I'm not trying to impress anybody.
That's true.
And it does have 2 rear seats, because it's 2+2 configuration.
All I can say is I think your son would have an absolute blast taking that to prom in like 15, 20 years.
That's not a bad call. All right. Well, we had one more topic, but I don't think we should get into it because we're already at
I think, honestly, our next topic here is deserving of a good chunk of an episode, too.
I would agree.
I think we will push that out to next week.
I agree.
Because we've gone on long enough here today.
Yeah, because I'd like to talk, because next week we can talk about trucks and SUVs and why the market's gone that way and how we think the market's going to go in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So, you can look forward to that next time. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find us at the Zero Camber Podcast on every social media platform except TikTok, because I keep forgetting to upload videos there. We even actually have the YouTube podcast RSS feed set up as well. So you could even do YouTube podcasts, and we have Spotify and Apple. So you can like and subscribe anywhere. Please leave a comment. People don't leave those very often. I really like it when they do that because I'm the main one that checks them.
It is fun reading the comments. Sometimes I get the notifications that come across, and it is endearing to read the comments.
Yep. And follow the Instagram, because not only do I post shorts from this, but I also make shorts that are supplementary to this, like the one I made about tire slip. So we do more than just the podcast on the social medias. So if you like this and you like us, you should follow us, because you'll get more than you bargained for, which could be a bad thing.
Yeah, we could probably be a handful here, and we do have plenty more planned beyond even just shorts and other stuff too.
Absolutely,
so,
in the long term.
We will be getting into some stuff. We will leak over time. We'll sprinkle some breadcrumbs here and there for everybody.
I think I sprinkled a breadcrumb yesterday.
So this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching.
Yep.
Like we said, all the links to follow us will be down in the description below. Like and subscribe.